the Dialed In Angling podcast presented by Onyx Fish, Runnings, and Fish USA. Well, speaking of Fish USA, here I am sitting in Erie, Pennsylvania at the Fish USA World Headquarters. Last week, if you tuned into the podcast, I was 1,200 miles from here, chasing down roosters, fishing the Missouri River in western South Dakota. And here I am on the shores of Lake Erie. We've got a great podcast lineup for you. We're sitting down with Fish USA, getting a backstory of how fishusa.com got started, the people behind the scenes at Fish USA. You know, if you've ordered tackle from Fish USA, if you've fished with me, if you know me, I've always got a Fish USA sweatshirt on. We're going to hear the backstory about how they got started here, what they do here, all of that stuff. We're going to talk a little fishing on Lake Erie. I know when we're done with the podcast, we're going to actually go out onto Lake Erie. We're going to do some fishing. We've got a lot of great content to bring you, including an incredible man cave giveaway that we're going to be doing right here from fishusa.com, and Rapala have partnered up to give away a giant Bush Light Rapala lure, to give away a 13 gas light to hang in your man cave. And we're even going to throw in a few 13 rods that we're going to be fishing with today. An excellent giveaway. So keep a lookout at that from all of Fish USA and their social media posts at fishusa.com. All right, let's get started here. I want to introduce my guests. There's 5 of us sitting in the room here. Let's start with Doug. Doug has been here for 15 years at Fish USA. Doug, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, happy to be here. My name is Doug Straub. As you mentioned, been with the company for 15 years. Really seen it from really the early stages. I started my career in customer service and worked my way to where I am in the merchandising world. And it's just been awesome to see the growth. I oversee our merchandising team, work closely with marketing, and it's just a great place to be in. Started really my fishing career in the charter captain scene, being a first mate in high school and working in college, and really just been around the industry my entire life and to where I am today. So it's just been awesome to see the growth, and love working with the rest of the guys in the room.
Heck yeah.
Thanks, Doug. My name's Nick Taylor, and I'm the director of marketing at Fish USA. I haven't been here quite as long as Doug, but I've been here about 10 years, and I've worn a lot of hats in my career at Fish USA. I started in customer service like Doug, and I've worked in our brick and mortar pro shop. I've managed our warehouse, and for the past 4 years, I've been our director of marketing, and love it here. So Fish USA is an awesome place to be, and I just love selling fishing tackle, love getting on the water.
Awesome.
I'm Nolan Pyle, Fish USA's marketing content strategist. I haven't been here near as long as Nick and Doug. I've been here about 4 years, but I've loved every second of it. I get to do the cool, fun stuff like fishing and filming with guys like Tony and our other pro staff, and just get to be on the water a good bit, but do all kinds of other video and photo editing, run the social media channels, blog posts, stuff like that. And I'm an avid angler. I've been fishing as long as I can remember. Founded and fished on a college bass team for 4 years, and that's what really kind of introduced me to the fishing industry and made me fall in love with it. So now here I am and love working at Fish USA.
I'm Nate Murphy. I'm a regional sales manager with Rapala. I've been with them for about 5 years now. I actually started working in their warehouse and have worked my way up to where I am now. I'm happy to be here with the guys with Fish USA. Love working with these guys, and looking forward to what the rest of the day has.
Awesome. What I love about the fishing industry is the passion that people have for fishing, right? And that's why we do it. I mean, unlike any other industry, a lot of people that go to their jobs, they sit around the water cooler and they talk fishing and hunting. We get to sell fishing tackle. We get to play with fishing tackle. We get to look at all the new products. We get to get excited about these products. Me, on my end, I get to experiment with a lot of the new products that are hitting the market. Let's get a little bit of backstory just on Fish USA in general. I want to hear, kind of how they got started. I know the backstory personally. I think it's a cool story. An online retailer, how Dan started this company back when really there wasn't. Not only wasn't there online retailers, there was barely an internet, right? I mean, Dan started this thing from the beginning. Doug, can you Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. No, absolutely. So Dan Pastore, the owner of Fish USA, started this company out of his garage with just a mindset of we're going to make this happen. And at that time, certainly, as you mentioned, the internet was just getting started. And I think everybody at the time was looking at this guy like, what's this guy doing? He's got no idea what he's talking about. What is this thing? Nobody knew what it was. And I think one of the things that I appreciate in the story and talking to Dan was how hard it was to be able to even get set up with manufacturers to be able to sell equipment. They didn't know what this internet thing was. And, everybody at the time knew what the brick and mortar, that was the primary way that people shopped. And to see where that started out of his garage, and I believe this is our 4th location, to where it is today is just unbelievable. And I think now it's really the future, the online shopping, and things are changing. But just to see that it's privately owned. Dan is in our office every single day. He's with us in the firing line, and we've grown to where we are today with majority of our staff here in Erie. We do have some remote employees around the country, all the way out to Denver, Colorado. We have folks in the area, Pittsburgh area. But, and really just how it started, Dan had at the time a Great Lakes focus. He knew the Great Lakes area, so that's kind of where he started, and to see where it's gone from there, and that is our roots. I will say that. I think the Great Lakes market is our roots. We are a national brand. We sell all over the country. We love selling bass fishing tackle down south. We also love selling walleye gear and perch gear as well. And just the variety of product, I think that's one of the unique things about Fish USA. And really, when you look at a lot of the retailers around the country, both brick and mortar online, is a lot of them are very specialized, and understandably so. Fish USA is extremely diverse in what we do. And I think the knowledge in this building, we always joke around, there's not one person that knows everything about fishing, but somewhere in this building, somebody knows a lot about that specific category. And that's really the story is just the passion, like we talked about, the energy when we start talking about fishing. And I think, from where I started at Fish USA, my passion has changed. My passion today is really selling the fishing tackle. It's not even, I love seeing guys like Nolan. They're super excited about fishing and actually getting out there. And my passion is really the selling of fishing tackle and the psychology and selling. It's really, really exciting for me to be able to work with and do custom projects like we're going to talk about. And that's what gets me excited. And just seeing people get excited about the products and the fisheries and all the different technologies, just super cool to see.
Well, I know I've been working with Fish USA for about 10 years now, and I know the changes that have gone through the website. A lot of them have gone directly through you, Doug. Some of the changes you brought aboard. I think when I first started, it was almost all exclusively walleye, almost all exclusively Great Lakes products, and that changed very rapidly.
Yep.
I know you and I had some conversations early on about some of the changes, some of the ways that you guys conduct a business, not just on your website, but the diversity of products for the angler, making it sort of that one-stop shop. They can get everything here. And I think that's cool. I think for anglers like myself who geek out over products and get excited about products, it's nice to be able to go to a site like Fish USA and really just sort of geek out for a while. I know there's walking into this office, I always think like if I worked in this office space, I would be like dreaming about fishing or hunting, right? I see woods out here, at your office building. There's probably deer walking around. I'd be like dreaming about deer, but then I'd be shopping online constantly here. Like you wouldn't get a lot of production out of me other than me geeking out over products that are on our website. And so it's really cool to see the changes. I know, Nick, let's talk to you a little bit. When I first met Nick, you were in the pro shop, and then you quickly converted over to marketing, and I know you're passionate about everything we're talking about here. And
well, kind of like Doug, I'm pretty passionate about the products we sell to everybody, but I'm also really passionate about the folks in this industry. Tony, like you, the pro staff I get to work with all the time, guys like you, Nate, just the relationships I've made with different vendors and different folks in this industry. It's awesome because kind of like Doug hit at the passion. Everybody wants the same thing, and it's to see somebody have an awesome time on the water, get the right products in their hand, because that's valuable time. there's a lot of stress in the world. There's a lot of things people don't like to do. Something that people like to do that we surround ourselves with is being on the water, going fishing, catching fish, making memories with their friends, making memories with their family. So if we can work with folks like, Rapala, if we can work with, awesome guys like you, Tony, it's cool to get people the right stuff to make that experience as good as it can possibly be.
Okay. Yeah, I always say this, like if I worked at an online retailer, if I worked at any sort of fishing or hunting retailer, I'd be broke. I totally would, because I would see like things flying off the shelf at a rapid rate, especially a new product or something that I don't have. And then I would buy up the rest of inventory for myself. Do you guys ever see that where you're like, look at this thing, it's trend, like people are buying this like crazy, and you had to either learn about the product itself or you were like, I need to get that for myself?
Tony, let me tell you, there's times where we can launch a product and like Doug and myself and Nolan and some other buyers, we'll see it sell. And it's like, Nolan, calm down with the social media stuff. You're doing too good of a job over there. It's awesome to see it just catch fire. Like we see products catch fire. We see different groups on Facebook and Instagram and stuff that share posts that we make, that guys are talking amongst each other, because we do a lot of unique, like custom color projects, unique lures. And, when guys get them and guys are catching fish on them, it's not a big, it's a small, tight-knit community enough where guys talk to each other and they head to the website and they get it in the cart as quick as they can. So
what is without naming a brand, you can kind of, without naming a brand or a specific lure or anything, what's kind of the craziest, like small niche item where you're like, wow, this thing like blew up? Can you think of anything like that, or a product in recent years where you maybe even didn't put a post up or anything, but it just took off, where you're like, what are people doing with this?
Well, from my perspective, and I'm going to say this first, I'm not a bass guy, but this fuzzy stuff is just
fuzzy.
I was going to say the same.
I'm just looking at this stuff like, what in the world are we at it in the industry? Like, what are we doing here? And that to me was it. And are they the biggest selling items? No, but it's to me, it's one of the most fascinating things, because the sales are extremely strong on this stuff, but it's just like wild to wrap your head around who even thought to even try this?
When I'm at ICAST walking around, I see lots of products where I'm like, there's no way this works. And all of a sudden I see it's like best in category winner. I'm like, what? Like I would have never envisioned that product that would be working. And I'm sure you guys get to see all sorts of different products, all sorts of different companies knocking on your door, trying to sell their product. I'm with you on the fuzzy dice thing, though. It's sort of mind-boggling to me. I am a bass angler. I spend a lot of time smallmouth fishing, walleye fishing. I would consider myself more of a multi-species than just specifically bass. But even some stuff that's way out there is mind-blowing to me. What I'm really intrigued about, too, is like certain aspects of smallmouth fishing, and when it comes to size of baits, right? How big of baits bass will eat. And so I'm waiting for people to come out with like giant fuzzy dice and giant, sort of these giant lures, as it pertains to smallmouth and largemouth. Because like you see trends over the years, like, 10-inch worms versus, finesse style baits. I'm like, I'm waiting to see this huge trend of these giant finesse baits. You're starting to see larger plastics come out, like with Crush City. And it proves that, these fish want these really large baits.
It's pretty incredible here. Like prime example, I never thought that I would have to use much other than a drop shot or a swim bait for smallmouth here all summer long. And I was dead wrong. I think, advancements in technology and just more people getting into fishing, which is an awesome thing, have put more pressure even on places like Lake Erie. That's such a giant body of water and has such migratory fish. But it's incredible to see the effectiveness of stuff like fuzzy dice or, like, for example, a mooch minnow. Like a mooch minnow is absolutely killer here. And it's like, never would I have thought that I'd be, shaking a mooch minnow above a smallmouth's head here on Lake Erie. And that's the only way I could get him to bite. But, and it's awesome to watch the trends in the industry and things come into stock here that I think are never going to be something that I'll have in my arsenal. And then I watch them sell and I have to try them for myself. And they are something that I end up catching them on.
Yeah, I mean, forward-facing sonar is obviously here to stay. I'm a huge fan of technology. It's controversial. You get people on that say, oh, we hate forward-facing sonar, Pitchfork Nation. I'm the opposite. I love technology. I love mapping. Any new advancements in technology when it came to side imaging, mapping, auto charting, anything I can do on the angler to give me, or on the water as an angler to give me an edge, I'm in. Forward-facing sonar, I'm in. As that technology evolves into, 360, as it evolves to getting really, really defined in different situations. You talk about Great Lakes situations, being able to see fish in extreme deep water or over deep water, and to be able to cover water quicker. I think it's just going to take people like myself and other anglers to the next level. I know my son and all his buddies, they're all about technology. If you took that aspect away from fishing in their world right now, they're done fishing. And that is the next generation of anglers. And they're just like me. Like I lay in bed at night thinking about different baits I can try, different lures I can throw, different jig heads that are coming out, whether it's new tungsten jigs from VMC, plastics from Crush City, Rapala hard baits. I want to get your guys' take on how the industry is changing as a direct result of forward-facing technology. You guys can all chime in. I know we all have our scenarios where, like you just said, that particular mooch minnow is now your go-to, whereas a couple of years ago it might have been a drop shot or you're power fishing with a jerkbait or whatever. How is it changing the way you guys are selling baits at Fish USA and what you're looking at to put, on your site for anglers out there?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question the jig head minnow boom, it's real. I mean, there's no question. You look across all the different brands and you're seeing an uptick in that type of product, both on the jig head and the soft plastic side. Do I think crankbaits have taken a little bit of a hit? I do. But I think the strong brands are still going to survive. I don't foresee crankbaits going away. I will say what's intriguing, and it's really in the trolling world. We haven't seen as dramatic of a shift there. Now, there are certainly, obviously, a lot of walleye guys that are doing the forward-facing sonar thing, but there's still, especially on Lake Erie, a community aspect of people want to go out with their buddies, 4 or 5 buddies, troll around, and most of those guys are using crankbaits, and we haven't seen a huge dramatic shift there. So I think it's just, slicing the pie a little bit differently, and that's the fun part about fishing and the innovation. But I think it's for good. I mean, I think it's cut the learning curve down so much for anglers. I mean, I look at it from when I first started. Tony first started. I mean, I remember people talking about paper graphs with their fish finders, and here we are today with forward-facing sonar, seeing the size of the fish, when they're going to eat it. It's so cool, and I just think it's good for the industry. And to your point, getting the younger generation into it.
Without completely giving away the episode that I just shot for Dialed In Angling out west, to your point, as far as hard baits, like I can think of specific hard baits that I use for forward-facing sonar in casting scenarios, but we just did a really cool trolling scenario out there, and it completely opened my mind to how I'm going to be going about trolling next year with forward-facing sonar and how effective. Obviously trolling is one of the most effective ways to put walleyes in the boat, not only on the Great Lakes, but everywhere you go, right? That's why trolling has been so popular for decades, right? Basically since Rapala came out with the first few hard baits, right? I hear stories in northern Minnesota, they used to rent out Rapalas to people, and they would charge a deposit of $25 at these resorts so they'd get their baits back. If you lost the bait, you owed them $25 back in the day. That must have been a fortune, right? But when I was out in western South Dakota, the way that we tracked baits on Dialed In Angling and the way we used forward-facing sonar in reverse to watch walleyes come up and strike our baits, that's the only way I'm going to be trolling from now on. It was so cool to get colors dialed in, to get sizes dialed in. On the show, we were using the new Rapala Gold Miner. We were using some of the big Husky jerks, a lot of the baits that they troll right out here on Lake Erie. And it was so cool to be able to track the baits in the manner in which we did without giving it away. I'm not going to tell you how we did it, but the way Marcus trolls out there on the Missouri River is exactly how you're going to be trolling. When forward-facing sonar first came out, I was all about casting. It was sort of an evolution, right? It started with me with walleye fishing, where I was only throwing like a bobber and a leech, right? So I could watch the bobber hit. I knew my distance out. The bobber was a good, that float was a good indicator of my distance out so I could really target fish. And then it evolved to jigs and crawlers, jigs and mooch minnows, jerk baits. It like just rapidly ramped up because I knew my distances. I knew what I was seeing. I could tell of a difference between a walleye, a pike, a carp, whatever it was. And now it's to the point where I'm going back to some of my original, whether it's pulling spinners and bottom bouncers, right? I can watch my bait. I can turn those forward-facing sonar units around. I can watch my crankbaits. And so now it's opening up a whole new realm for me fishing as a well-rounded angler, not just casting. Because there's times like on Lake Erie, Lake Mille Lacs, out on western South Dakota, you could go to Devil's Lake, North Dakota, where forward-facing sonar, you can't cast. I mean, it's so rough out. It's impossible. Plus, it becomes counterproductive. And then you get in areas where it's vast basin situations. Yes, you can hunt them down at times when you're on the school, but trolling might be your better method. And so I've really become a fan of trolling with forward-facing sonar, especially after being out, seeing the manner in which we tracked our baits in South Dakota. But I really started becoming a fan when I was in North Dakota on Lake Sakakawea pulling spinners, watching those walleyes come up and hit those spinners. I basically used my trolling motor in the front with forward-facing sonar, facing forward, hunting them down. And then I had one on my pole in the back pointing towards my bait. So once I hunted them down, I went over the top of them. Get ready, guys. You're about to get a bite. And then boom, you watch them fish. You watch a fish strike in real time. Dude, you want to talk about geeking out. That's the stuff that keeps me awake at night. And it's cool to see sort of this evolution. Hey, let's take a quick break here. We're going to pause for commercial break. But when I come back, I want to talk more about trends in fishing. I want to talk about how AI is changing your business. I know AI is another, sort of wormhole you can go down. I actually sat on the plane with a gentleman on the way out here. His whole job is like AI development for the company he works for. I won't name the company, but dude, I felt like I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast sitting next to this guy. I mean, he was talking about the impacts of what AI has had so far and in the advancements over the last 5 years and where it's going in the next 5 years. And it's mind blowing. So stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got more Dialed In Angling coming your way. OnX Fish is the best tool I have ever used for finding new lakes to target. Quickly filter lakes by species, then select trophy potential, high abundance, keeper potential, or high stocking effort to find the fish you're after in the size and the numbers you are trying to catch. Download from the App Store today to get research tools for the serious anglers and beginners alike, giving you the data to target the right lakes and the confidence to get there. Use tools like recent imagery, fishing hotspot data, or the best-in-class weather features that call out current wind, weather, barometer, moon phase, majors and minors, along with precip and more. OnX Fish is a phenomenal tool both on and off the water for discovering new fishing opportunities, many of which you'd never known existed. Download OnX Fish Midwest today, the app that is changing the game on ice and open water. Okay, welcome back. We are at Fish USA World Headquarters, once again, talking trends in fishing. Before we dive into that AI topic, sort of that headline that everybody has, let's talk a little bit of just trends in fishing, basically, and what you're seeing here over the last, in addition to forward-facing sonar, trends among consumers, how they're purchasing. Are they seeing these products online and then coming to you? Are they getting them direct from you guys? Is it coming from a bunch of different sources? What are some of the trends you're seeing in that, in baits and whatever it may be that you guys see? Because you get to see a lot of different products.
Yeah, I mean, so it's, obviously, as you mentioned, the forward-facing sonar with jig head and minnow, but, there's every year it changes. You see upticks in all kinds of, spinning reels, obviously for obvious reasons, spinning rods. But on the bait side, it's whoever wins a tournament, whoever does a social media post, whoever does a YouTube video, that really, at the end of the day, is what drives a lot of sales. And I think that's been the biggest shift is it might not necessarily be the bait. It's somebody's pushing it. And I think there's really no rhyme or reason. It's kind of hard to really track that stuff. The buyers, my team, we'll look at stuff and say, why the heck are we selling this many of this particular bait? And we'll go look into it. And there's this video that was posted, a week ago about it. And that's the stuff there's no way to plan for that. And that's kind of the fun part of it too, is you see this big boom and how long is it going to last? Is it going to be a couple weeks? Is it going to be a big trend and where a lot of people are catching fish on these things and it just keeps snowballing? Those are the types of things that, that I see from a trend standpoint is who's winning a tournament on something and who's posting a video about it.
So on my end, not necessarily the products they're buying, but kind of how customers are buying. So it's a lot different now than even, a decade ago when I started at Fish USA. I can remember working in our customer service department. There was multiple times a year would receive mail and somebody wrote a check in for their order.
Yeah.
And you don't see that too much anymore. But even folks, shopping online from their desktop computers, you don't see that as much anymore. I think what people want is the convenience of getting that cell phone out of their pocket, getting an order placed as quick as they can and getting it shipped to their house as quick as they can. And I think Fish USA is doing a pretty good job, the best we can, staying up with those trends, making it easy for somebody to shop mobile, making it easy for somebody at the checkout process to get done quick, making shipping options pretty easy that they're confident they place their order. They're getting an email after they place their order. Here's tracking with their order. Okay, a day or two later, that's at their house and they're fishing. So we want to stay up to date as much as we can and kind of ahead of the curve, really, with making the whole experience easy. Nobody wants to shop. People want to fish. So can we make shopping as quick as it can be? Get what you need, get on the water. So
I'm in that category. Two things. One, I have I don't know if you call it FOMO or just like anxiety. Like when I order something, I want it like right now. I'm super excited to get that. So I might go out and do my day, come back home, whether I'm fishing or whatever, and then you get that box sitting on your deck, and you're like, yes, it came, right? Like you can't wait to try whatever product it is or a color that you had to have or whatever it may be. And then I've also had the other side where I've ordered stuff, forgot about it, and then the package showed up, and then you're equally as excited, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I forgot. I ordered all those, crankbaits from Fish USA or whatever it may be. Let's talk a little bit about custom color. Okay, so Nate's sitting here, Rapala rep. I love custom colors. I geek out over custom colors. I have a whole bin upstairs of my house of custom colors from different retailers that I had to have, just certain colors that work that I, back in the day I experimented with and then just fell in love with and had to have that. And I have some discontinued Rapala colors too, where I cherish those things. Cause there's times and situations where you need that particular color. So let's talk about custom colors and how, a certain custom color can absolutely catch fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've got a really cool program coming up here for the next year with Fish USA. We've worked together to create a whole lineup of custom colors. Kind of the idea is, a new color every month is what we're going to do. And I don't want to give too much away on what those are going to be, but the baits are kind of tailored towards that season. And so that those custom colors, when they come out, it'll be hot then. And, these things are a limited time deal. They don't last forever. It's kind of like you said, you stock up on these custom colors when you like them and they work for you. And, they aren't going to be around forever. So it's kind of a one-time deal, and you got to get them when they're hot.
So, and not only are they custom colors, they're Fish USA exclusive colors, correct?
Absolutely. No, this is an exciting project that we've been working on for really since just before July. I mean, right around ICAST is when we really started putting things together. And there's been a lot of progress over the last several months, and super excited about this project. I mean, we get extremely excited about custom colors at Fish USA. We have a lot of different brands and a lot of different SKUs that we do custom colors with. And it just builds excitement. People get excited about the new stuff that's coming out. And to be able to put a program together with Rapala, I think this is what we're doing with what's coming out and the marketing that's going to be behind this. It's next level. And I think it's really going to set the precedent of how this moves forward and to really build excitement between Fish USA and Rapala.
Ding, ding, ding. Like, I am a custom color geek. So like, you'll see me on there, Tony Roach order custom colored. No, I absolutely love it. As an angler, just trying and experimenting with different colors. I've always been, and now with, like I said, forward facing sonar, being able to track those baits, see how fish react to those baits. My father-in-law used to say, every time a new bait or a new color, especially a new color, would come out in a bait that he really liked, he'd go buy it. And then I remember sitting on his pool tables, just a stack of Rapalas. I mean, a load, right? And my father-in-law is an avid angler, just like us. And I said, John, what the heck, And he's like, hey, some baits catch fish, some baits catch fishermen. And I was like, he was a consumer. Like, he absolutely loved the baits just like us. Okay, let's get into a little more AI talk because it's intriguing to me. Obviously, AI has the buzz of any company out there, right? Whether it's these Fortune 500 companies figuring out how AI is going to benefit their company, be more effective, I'm always thinking, like, how is AI going to affect fishing sales, affect me as an angler, being able to put my input into something or using my graph to where, it's all integrated. I had a conversation, like I said, on the plane with a gentleman that's what he does is AI for companies. He develops AI software for companies. And, his biggest thing is like, it basically comes down to software. And so, I said, well, do you think we'll reach a point where we're not going to have all these graphs on our dash of our boats and stuff? It's going to be into AI glasses or whatever it may be. What here at Fish USA are you seeing with, let's say quantum leaps or leaps and bounds with AI?
Well, I can tell you for sure that we use AI, especially on the marketing team at Fish USA. And here's kind of the best way to describe it. So I could get from Erie, Pennsylvania to Detroit, Michigan on a bike. I probably couldn't, but somebody could. I could also get there in a car. I could also get there in a plane. So there's a lot of things I do with AI I could do without AI, but I can be so much more productive and I can look into so many more projects I'm doing. I can work on some social media projects with Nolan and, track things, and it just makes things a lot quicker. And I think that's how Fish USA uses it a lot. But there's a lot of ways with AI where we can really dig in and kind of see, what's next. What are we going to look for into the future? And there's a lot of ways. I don't use Google as much anymore because I'm using AI and I'm finding such a tailored experience to what I'm doing that I wouldn't get if I wasn't using AI. It's really nice. So it's scary, like everybody says. There's a lot of scary AI stuff, and it's wild the learning it can do. But what's nice is the more you use AI, it's like riding a bike. You get used to how AI operates. You get used to how AI can learn as much or as little as you want it to learn. And the way that you go back and forth with your personal experience with AI is really up to you. But it makes you more productive. I'll tell you that much.
I always think of like AI is like a dream. Like, I'm going to wake up in a dream sequence and I get to Fish USA and I open the door and it's just no one in here. It's silent. It's just robots like working in the back, filling orders, robots in the pro shop. Like, hey, where's Doug and Nick and Nolan? Hey, Tony, it's AI. Like, they've been replaced, right? And so I always think of AI like that. But what it comes down to, I think a lot of it has to do with, at least in the near future, rather than robotics. And that's coming. But it's the amount of input that you can put into something, like you said, to create a better experience. Even me as an angler, I would think of like, okay, I've got a ton of GPS coordinates, right? 20 years of fishing full time. I've got a ton of icons, a ton of waypoints. How can I utilize those waypoints to kind of decipher and show like areas and trends of based on the date that I put down the icon? So I'm really good at categorizing my icons in the sense where I use certain icons for certain things, right? A walleye, a lot of people just use blue dots and that's it. And that's fine if you're like only fishing walleyes or only fishing Lake Erie or whatever. How I use my icons is I'll use a specific icon for walleyes, a specific icon for smallmouth bass, a specific one for pike, for panfish, for perch. I also mark bottom contours, bottom content, substrates, whether it's rock, weeds. I mark all that stuff, right? And I started doing it with side imaging. I use Lowrance units so I could touch the screen in the summer, and I marked a lot of things that I wanted to come back and fish in the winter, but I just needed that information there. Cabbage weeds versus milfoil versus sharp breaks. I mark that stuff. I do it all the time. Well, I have tens of thousands of icons because I don't just mark fish all the time. Fish swim, but I do mark fish when they're relating to something or a specific time of year, or like out here in Lake Erie, I'm sure they're following, surface temps and certain times of the year and mud lines and all that stuff, right? And so I would like to be able to put all of those icons in a database or on a spreadsheet and have AI spit out at specific times where I should be fishing somewhere, coupling that with moon phases, also like major and minor feeding periods. Like if I could put all that together in a specific app that I can use just for me, I'm just doing it selfishly. But if I could do that, that's where AI would benefit me in my job. That's what I think in my head where AI is going.
And I think you kind of said it best, Tony. And I think a misconception with AI too is I think when people think of AI, the first thing they think of is that's not authentic, or that's just, I can tell that's an AI. But what you just described is really you, and you're putting all of your effort in. You're using a tool to make you have an easier and softer way.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And, obviously you're going to have to navigate through, with AI as it grows. I see it all the time. And you guys do all too, fake AI videos
right.
of, someone catching a giant fish that jumps out of the boat or kills a deer and the buck stands up and runs away. That stuff's funny. But I'm looking for AI to be a useful tool to make me a better angler. Same thing, like integrating, like, let's say it would be similar to like auto charting, where everywhere I drive, that information goes into the database. Also, everywhere I stop with my boat or ice fishing, it could be, driving my snowmobile. When I have my graph on, everywhere I stop, that information's getting uploaded to the cloud or whatever I'm doing to use that information to be more efficient on the water and on the ice.
And I think it's beneficial too. And you can kind of see, like even on the social media and all across the marketing channels, you can see the folks that use AI. And I don't want to say in a lazy way, but like they use AI without incorporating any skill and just AI. It's like, wow, you can tell that's really AI. But there's folks out there that use AI and also incorporate their skill and their strategy. And it really makes their life a lot better. And there's right and wrong ways, I think, personally, to use AI and incorporate it, especially into the fishing industry. The fishing industry, if nothing else, is a very authentic. You need to be true. Somebody's going to know when you're full of BS or not. So if you take that away, and if you use AI that way, whatever, and spit out whatever blog article or spit out whatever social media posts without putting any of your own heart and soul into it. And I think people see that. And that's what I'm against. I think it's really easy to put your own heart and soul into everything you do, and use AI as just that tool to make you a little more efficient when need be.
Yeah, I think, for most anglers, anglers, people, the outdoors people, I should say, they fish because of the experience, right? They don't want a fake experience. They want the actual experience. And so, when it comes to storytelling or using baits that working, like you want that authenticity to it, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I geek out over things because I'm pumped about it. Like right now I'm sort of torn. My whole brain is torn because I love to hunt and fish, right? So I'm thinking about deer hunting. Like, when Nate and I were sitting on a layover coming here from Minnesota, I'm geeking out over onX maps for hunting, but then I'm also super pumped because I'm looking up lake trout videos because we're heading out on the Lake Erie to do a little lake trout fishing, and I absolutely love lake trout fishing. And so, but I'm looking for authentic scenarios. Like if I was scrolling through, and of course my algorithm's going to start feeding me lake trout and hunting videos because that's what I'm so fixated on right now. You know, once you see those fake videos, I'm not really interested in looking at it unless it's like a funny, you know, sort of video that someone posts out there. But as those lines start to get blurred a little bit, it'll be interesting because I catch my dad all the time. I feel like my dad sometimes when I'm on the internet or on my phone because I catch my dad. He's like, "Hey, did you see that video where, you know, the guy was taking a picture with his buck and it ran off?" Like my dad bought in, you know, and I was like, "Dad, it's AI." "Oh yeah. Well, he knows it's sort of AI, but it's funny because I'll bring up videos to my kids and my son in particular because we love, you know, fishing and hunting videos. I'll bring up a video I watched. I'm like, "Dude, did you see that?" And then I'll catch myself like, "Oh, it was an AI video," you know, because I don't want him to call me out on it, you know. So, well, let's chat a little bit about our fishing trip. I know Nolan's going to take us out fishing. We're heading out on Lake Erie. When we talked about it, you know, when I've been here in the past at Fish USA, we've steelhead fished, which was super cool experience. Steelhead fishing around here is different than where I fish, like on the South Shore of Lake Superior or wherever, because up there you can't see the fish. Here, when I went with Dan and Josh, they took me out. He said, "We're going to be centerpin fishing and running floats past these fish." We get down there and there's steelhead everywhere in the tributary. I'm like, "What?" Where I trout fish, if you see trout, it's too late. They're not biting, right? And so when I was walking down there, I was like, "No way we're going to catch these things," right? And we're throwing, and it's like this agitation strike, and all of a sudden, boom, you catch one, and it's a nice steelhead in the stream. Super cool. Even just walking down the beach of Lake Erie and then coming up to that one stream where all the fish are staging there, where people can kind of geek out over fish, gets me fired up. And so to be able to go out onto Lake Erie today, you know, it's November right now. I mean, you know, I've listened to the Edmund Fitzgerald song. They just had the commemoration of the you know, the gales in November. You think November's cold and windy. We picked a day. I am literally rolling sevens right now when it comes to fishing trips because like we are so close to getting ice at home right now. Like my mind is shifting to ice fishing. But the last two fishing trips I've been on in Western South Dakota, it was beautiful, dead flat calm, absolutely gorgeous, like 50 degrees, no wind in the Dakotas in the fall. And now I'm out here in Erie, Pennsylvania on Lake Erie, and there's no wind. It's sunny and shining. I'm rolling sevens right now. So I'm super pumped to get out there.
We've got a rare day today. Absolutely. You don't get many like this on Lake Erie this time of year. And, you know, we're going to go out in a bass boat today. So that tells you that tells you how calm it is. But yeah, I mean, we typically will only get 4 or 5 good fishable days, you know, in a smaller boat here on Lake Erie in November. So for you guys to be here on one of those days where it is just flat calm out there is pretty spectacular.
So the original plan was to go steelhead fishing, but then we saw the weather and Nolan's like, "Hey, would you mind instead of steelhead fishing, can we go lake trout fishing?" And I was like fist bumping in my truck because anybody who listens to this podcast, knows that I geek out over lake trout to begin with, but this summer I've really had this like I've fell in love with lake trout fishing on the Great Lakes because of forward facing sonar and absolutely love it. So when you said we're going lake trout fishing on Lake Erie is something I've never done before. And so I'm super pumped to get out there. You know, nothing against Fish USA, but they were in here like, "Oh, we got some meetings and videos." I'm looking at my phone the whole time like, "Oh my gosh, what time is it? We got to get out there, lake trout. Let's finish this podcast. Let's get on the water." So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to revisit and recap our trip out on Lake Erie. We'll talk a little bit more about the giveaway, this man cave giveaway. I should also say it's a she shed giveaway. I know in our videos we called it man cave, but it's a man cave she shed, depending on how you look at it, because there's going to be a lot of ladies out there that are really into fishing that are going to want to get in on this giveaway. So we'll talk a little bit more how you can get in on this giveaway that we're giving away. Giant Rapala lure, 13 fishing gas lights, some 13 fishing rods from Fish USA. So stay tuned. We're going to recap our trip out on Lake Erie and our visit to Fish USA when we come back after this.
Runnings Home, Farm, and Outdoor stores are celebrating 78 years, serving 90 local communities across the Upper Midwest, the Northeast, and America's Heartland. Runnings has everything you and your family need for your home, on the farm, and in the outdoors. Lawn and garden, hardware, farm and ranch supplies, sporting goods, housewares, snacks, and everything for your pets. Go to runnings.com to find one of the 90 locations near you, or shop online anytime at runnings.com. Runnings, your home, farm, and outdoor store.
Okay, we are back. Let's wrap up this podcast by talking about our fishing trip. We just got off of Lake Erie. So we came down to Fish USA. We had some meetings. We did some filming, did the podcast, got the backstory of Fish USA. We're here in Erie, Pennsylvania. Like I said, Nolan told me on the phone, we had planned on steelhead fishing, but he said, you know what? The lake trout are biting. Let's go out there. And let's talk about, first of all, how epic it was. It was an incredible day. I mean, like I said, when you roll the dice on Lake Erie in the fall, in November, you don't know what you could get. We could have plans of going lake trout fishing and never happening. It happened for us, and we caught them. But what's cool about the trip that we just went on, fellas, is the fact that we were catching lake trout in under 30 feet of water. I don't want to give away your spots, but I have never caught lake trout that shallow, that consistent, right? I've caught them late ice. I've caught them really shallow, and I've caught them in a few situations really, really shallow, but I don't get that opportunity. Most of the time when I'm lake trout fishing, they're 50 feet or deeper or whatever. You might catch a suspended fish or something, but these fish were really shallow and they were biting.
Very shallow.
And when we were catching them on, I don't get a chance to fish those very often either, is blade baits. The Rapala Rip and Blade. That was cool. That was a eye-opener for me. Every time I go on a fishing experience, I always try to learn something from that experience. I go with different charter captains. I go, with buddies. Anytime I go on or I go to a new destination, for example, anytime I go to a new location, I'm always trying to learn something that I can take away from that experience and use on my own somewhere. That was unbelievable. That makes me want to come back to Lake Erie, not just for walleyes. Obviously It's known for walleyes, and we did catch walleyes.
Yeah, did catch a walleye.
Yep, Nate caught a walleye, of course, on a Crush City Mayor.
And also want to point out that was totally thanks to forward-facing sonar. We pulled up on a rock pile that we were going to fish for smallmouth, and you pan to the right, and there's a giant bait ball and all kinds of suspended marks on it. So what do? Go chase them down, and it turns out they were nice walleyes.
Yeah, right on. No, but as far as the lake trout experience, I wasn't expecting that. When you said that, hey, when we're coming out here, we could possibly be lake trout fishing, I was thinking, oh, it's deep. I brought some baits with a bunch of heavy jigs, and so I was expecting to fish deep, and that was not the case.
No, it's super cool. Our fish right now are spawning. Like I said, these are all stocked fish, but they do spawn, and there is a little bit of natural reproduction. But anyway, the best spawning structure is shallow here on Lake Erie. I think if there was some deeper, they'd probably spawn on it. But, that depth range we were fishing today has all that big chunky rock that they like to spawn on. And man, do they stack up on it.
Yeah. And, I don't get an opportunity in Minnesota to fish spawning lake trout. Like Lake Superior, for example, shuts down at the end of September. They do not allow you to fish those spawning fish. And for good reason, we have a lot of natural spawning.
Right.
But to be able to see those fish in big numbers, see the different color variations of the lake trout was really cool, man. It was super fun experience. I really appreciate Nolan taking us out fishing, just being on Lake Erie. It's going to be hard to get on that plane tomorrow.
I know. We're going to be kicking ourselves in the morning that we didn't have another day, because it's going to be another beautiful day tomorrow. Flat calm.
It's so rare. You guys come into town for 3 days and you bring the nice weather with you. It's flat calm for 3 straight days. We haven't had that since, gosh, I couldn't tell you. I can't remember. So
we were joking in the boat that, I was going to tell my wife, hey, we got a lot of meetings and stuff tomorrow, a lot to do, couldn't get it all done in one day. Sorry, honey.
Yeah, meetings with Mr. Lake Trout.
That's right. That's right.
Lake Erie is incredible. It's an amazing fishery, and Fish USA is right here on it, so we're incredibly blessed to be able to experience it at its best.
Super cool. Yeah, I smell like a lake trout as we're doing this podcast. That smell lingers,
Yeah.
You can try to wash it off your hands and it just doesn't come off, It's certain fish slime you can get off pretty easily. Lake trout, it sort of lingers. I'll be laying in bed tonight, I'll be like, oh, it smells like a lake trout in here. Or I'll go home, my wife has an incredible sense of smell. I'll open my suitcase and she'll be like, "Oh my gosh, that smells like fish," you know.
You must have caught him.
Yeah, exactly. We always joke around in our family too. It's like when I come home, if I smell like fish constantly my whole life, you know, I come home and the kids will be like, "Oh, you smell like fish." And my wife, we always joke around and like, it's the smell of money, you know?
Yeah.
'Cause I heard that one time. It was like, I think it was on Deadliest Catch or something. One of the family members, you know, they were embracing after a long trip and they stunk like fish. And he's like, it's the smell of money. So we always joke around about that. But thanks a lot. That was a super fun trip. Lake Erie is a special place. You know, the Great Lakes in general. I want to do the Great Lakes tour sometime, you know, because I've had an opportunity to fish Lake Superior, Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, but I've never gotten over to Ontario. You know, there's fishing I still want to do, and I want to experience fishing on the Canadian side. I kind of, you know, at some point in my life, you know, my wife and I have talked about doing like the tour, you know, like starting where we live and driving and hitting different destinations, fishing, bringing our own boat, but also going out with different charter captains and just kind of experiencing it all the way around and seeing the sights and fishing and just kind of incorporating that because, you know, this is all in our own backyards and it oftentimes gets overlooked. For us anyway, where we live in Minnesota, I mean, Lake Superior gets overlooked a lot just because we have 10,000 lakes. Yeah. And you know, even for you guys, you know, you're busy bass fishing, doing different things that sometimes you take it for granted, right?
For sure. Absolutely. We do. And, you know, there's just so many options. Like sometimes when you're launching the boat, it's a question of what you're going to do that day because you can go absolutely hammer on walleyes. You can go catch big smallmouth. You can go fish in the bay for largemouth. Like it never ends. So, you know, but it's a very good thing to have those options. It's not a bad problem to have.
Nolan mentioned that out in the boat as well. Like, he was like, yeah, if you go in the bay here, there's tons of really good largemouth fishing. I don't think a Great Lakes fishing is like largemouth.
I thought it was a joke at first.
Yeah, honestly. It's really cool. To
no, it's awesome. Awesome. I mean, you can go wind a spinnerbait around and legitimately have a 75 to 100 fish day.
Oh, that's incredible.
Oh, it's so fun. You know, when it's a blow day and you can't get out there, it's a great option. So there's always something to do here in Erie. There's a world-class bite going on all the time, 12 months of the year, whether it be steelhead, walleye, smallmouth, perch, there's always something.
Very cool. Super cool lake trout experience. Super cool fishing experience here at Fish USA. Nolan, thank you so much for taking us out. Like I said, man, it was awesome. Totally awesome. Unexpected and much appreciated. I know for me, this is most likely the last day that I'm on the water. You know, we're icing up. It looks like a big cold front starting next Thursday, Friday. So right around Thanksgiving, Black Friday. Hey, why don't you mention that Man Cave giveaway once again, how people can get interested in this, how they can sign up for it and a chance to win the Man Cave giveaway, because I think it's super cool. I have a man cave that could use a little touching up. So Nolan, how do people enter to win the Man Cave giveaway?
Yeah, so we're going to have a landing page on our website. You're going to be able to find that in the link in our Facebook post that you'll see with Tony. We'll pin it at the top of the page. So if you head to our Facebook post, you'll see it. That should be live fairly soon. It's not at the moment, but you know, by the time you guys see this podcast, expect it probably that next week. And then all you're going to have to do in there is give us your name and your email and you're in. And it's a super cool giveaway. I mean, we do a lot of giveaways and this one I'm most excited about. I mean, you can take home a bush light lure, a 13 fishing neon sign, and a couple of the rods that we were just out there hammering lake trout on. So it's a great prize pack. And yeah, very simple to sign up, completely free. And that winner is going to be picked at random. And, you know, we'll get in contact with you if you are that winner.
Awesome. Sign up for the Man Cave giveaway. I guarantee those rods smell like lake trout.
That's all right.
They've got good mojo.
Broke them in.
Yeah. They performed very well.
Yeah, they're 13 myth rods. You've got... like you said, the neon sign from 13 Fishing and the bush light giant Rapala lure, super cool. I know I was joking, like when we were doing the promo for it, I was like, let's not give this away. This could just go in my suitcase because It's super cool. In addition to that, we got next weekend's Black Friday, then Cyber Monday. I know you guys are going to have a ton of deals here at Fish USA, a ton of good savings. We got the holidays are just around the corner. It's hard to believe. Anybody in your life that's interested in fishing, or maybe you want some stocking stuffers for yourself, check out fishusa.com for all the Black Friday deals, the Cyber Monday deals. They're out there. Thank you guys so much for sitting in on the podcast. safe travels to you. I know, Nolan, you'll probably get out fishing a couple more times in your boat. Nate, you might be musky fishing.
Maybe.
I know you're teasing
We'll
that,
see.
but man,
I'll
the
try.
temps are coming. The cold water temps are coming. We're going to have ice in winter, and winter in a big way here coming up in Minnesota right after Thanksgiving. How long it'll last, I'm not sure, but you're going to want to stay tuned to the Dialed In Angling podcast all season long. We're going to have current ice conditions. We're going to have ice reports from guides in all of your favorite locations. Lake of the Woods, Devil's Lake, Red Lake, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and more. So tune in each and every week. We appreciate everybody listening to the podcast. Until next time, good luck fishing. I'm Tony Roach, and this has been the Dialed In Angling Podcast.